Don't focus on new things that you want to add to your business. Look at the old things that are running in your business that are repetitive enough that you can then easily automate.
You are wasting so much time and money. If there is this technology, why not to use that?
The only people who are going to get replaced are people who don't know how to use AI.
The life changes so fast, especially online.
Collaboration is everything. That's kind of the biggest thing that I've learned with YouTube. YouTube isn't anymore just posting and then waiting for you to go viral. You don't have to get someone who has 10 years experience if your business is only about 2 years old.
Hello! Today we have a very special guest. One of the 100 most influential Filipino women, a co-founder, AI consultant, and a successful YouTuber with 24,000 subscribers and 804 videos. Leanne, welcome to our show.
Excited to be here, Will. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, have been looking forward for this episode to talk with you about so many achievements. It's incredible. You succeeded in very competitive markets like VA business, virtual assistant business in Philippines, outsourcing these services to other companies. That will be interesting to learn how you succeeded and what our audience can learn from that. And also, succeeding on YouTube is also not a piece of cake. I have been doing it as well, trying at least. And you have like 804 videos. I don't know when you have time to sleep.
I usually don't.
Yeah, that saves a lot of time. Yeah, you probably, if you were sleeping, you probably had half of this amount. I'm interested to know. Let's start with that. What is actually an AI consultant?
So an AI consultant could be a lot of different ones. There's different specific things that you can do. An AI consultant could just be someone who talks to people or educates people about how to use AI. Some people can be very, on the other side, very nerdy of like actually setting up your AI automations, replacing all of your current tools with AI. And I'm a little bit on the middle side where I help map out a business for someone. So for example, let's say for your business, I will go ahead and map that out with you of where every single process is. And then we'll start looking at what are the ways that we can add AI into your business. So that's my expertise, is really operations and a little bit of marketing, just because I'm a marketing nerd as well. Niche basically of AI consultant can range from, hey, I'm only on the marketing side of AI, or I'm only on the sales side of AI. I can set you up on different parts of it. For my own, it's really for the goal of mapping someone's business, making it easy and visual for them, and then starting to add AI into different parts of it.
That sounds very practical for entrepreneurs, because I used to be an entrepreneur as well, and I know how tough it is. You have so many different things to do. Could you give a few examples that are very common, where you see over and over where you can automate things?
Well, the very easy part, honestly, is the fact that people don't usually have templates of the same thing that they send over and over again. Of course, the easiest one is, I talked about sales, like cold outreach, that they'll have different scripts for different people that they talk to, and it can be easily made into AI, where, for example, for one of the clients that I worked with, we basically create an AI assistant where all they have to do is basically input the client's website and maybe even their social media page, and then it'll create a custom email for that person based off of a template they already created. So then every single time that they're reaching out to someone else, they just have to put in their website or Facebook or LinkedIn page, and then it'll create a custom email from that. That's one of the easiest ones, just because it's something repetitive. So that's the first thing usually people don't think about when it comes to automating things with AI, is don't focus on new things that you want to add to your business. Look at the old things that are running in your business that are repetitive enough that you can then easily automate. So that's the first part.
That's amazing. That's a really interesting perspective, because I think there are two groups of people out there with this new trend. Some people, they try to implement AI everywhere.
Yeah.
And then the results might be not as good, especially if you don't know how to do it in the right way.
What you're doing, yeah.
And some people maybe are a little bit skeptical about AI and trying to do everything by themselves, which is also, you are wasting so much time and money. If there is this technology, why not to use that? In the beginning, you were offering just virtual assistants, and then you moved to AI, or combination with AI and virtual assistants. Could you tell me how you came up with this business idea and how you succeeded, especially?
Really good question. So for, I guess I always start with my story with all the way back when I was 15 years old because it was the very first time that I got an online job. I got an online job as a writer. And then, of course, when you're 15, you take whatever gig you can get. So I became a graphic artist, I
Yeah.
became a video editor, anything that I could get my hands on, basically, I grabbed. When I was 18 years old, I joined this book publishing startup where I became editor, slowly rose up, became CEO of that. And then when I was 20, by the time I was 23, I said, hey, I want to start my own business. And my boss at that time said, like, hey, instead of leaving the company and having to leave us, why not I co-found that business with you? Because then we have the structure, blah, blah, blah. So my boss became my co-founder for
Mm.
2XU. So 2XU started as part of me kind of going a little bit full circle of I got this vision and idea in my head of I want to help other Filipinos be able to work from home, be able to work remotely as I have for my whole career, basically. So then in my head, how can I hire a lot of people? So I need to find people who would hire these Filipinos. So we
Yeah.
started out with a course on this is how you can hire and manage a virtual assistant. That course has recently even been updated out there, it's still out there. One of the students that we had when we were doing a live class in Singapore came to us and said, like, hey, I love what you're teaching. It's essentially how the virtual assistant agency itself came about. It became now executive assistant because we have a lot of focus on operations and systems. And when AI, well, ChatGPT, to be honest, came out in December 2022, I had two funny thoughts in my head of like, oh no, because then as if we're gonna be replaced. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, no, they're the only people who are gonna get replaced are people who don't know how to use AI. So I immediately created a AI boot camp for my team, for all of our executive assistants, and been teaching this as workshops to people, been educating not just potential virtual assistants. 2 days ago, I was in a workshop for female entrepreneurs who are trying to figure out how to do AI. So I focused a lot on education, on getting people started on it. So then it became that our assistants became AI enabled. But at the same time, there was still the need where a lot of people who weren't ready yet to have an assistant in their business still wanted to see what AI can do. So then I started the AI consulting business about 4 months ago. Basically, something that we would do just for 2XU clients. I started offering to people outside of 2XU and kind of got a little nerdy and had a lot of fun so far of doing that and growing that business as well as 2XU has gotten to the point where it can keep kind of running and growing without me.
Wow. There are a few valuable lessons for entrepreneurs. One of them is to adjust, not to keep doing what you're doing in the same format for all your life, because the life changes so fast, especially online.
Oh yeah.
And also to embrace the change, to adjust to the change, and to even to make the best out of it. Some people maybe are complaining, oh, it's destroying jobs and stuff. And you made new jobs with that, and you made new business opportunity. That's amazing. Which challenges did you face when you were building your business, and how did you solve them?
One of the biggest challenges, and that I've said this in a lot of ways as well, has always been people. Like it's both ways of knowing what kind of clients you want to work with, which when you're beginning and starting your business, you usually just say yes to anyone who would want to give you money.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like hiring the wrong and working with the wrong people or managing people the wrong way. It's kind of all of the same space of a little bit of something that you can't really learn from a book or from a course. You really have to kind of go through by experience, is knowing what kind of people you want to work with, knowing how you want to be the kind of person that they would want to work with as well. Because like I said, it's not about just hiring or having the right people. It's also managing them and managing them well. Like that was one of the earliest lessons that I learned as a CEO or as a co-founder has been to put in the right system to build connection and a lot of growth with the people that I work with, and not expecting kind of for them to just do it on their own. I have to make it intentional basically and build the systems around it so then it's easier to be able to adapt. But it is that the challenge of knowing who you want to work with and then knowing or creating the person or becoming the person that they would also want to work with.
How did it change with times in terms of choosing the right clients? So I guess in the beginning you were happy for any client, and did it change? Like, are you now more picky? Which kind of clients do you reject?
So it's a whole lot for sure. Like I said before, you would take any client who would want to come in doing you just because you're beginning. And the biggest ones, and it's especially in this space of having a virtual assistant where of course it's advertised everywhere else. I also made this before. I know what it looks like where people are like, oh, these are your $3 virtual assistants. Like anytime that someone comes in with that mindset that they think that their assistant should only be hourly, that they're thinking that their assistant can do everything for them in their business, I know right away that they're not going to work out for us long term. Because one, that means that they're not even making enough money in their business to sustain having an assistant. That's why they're only thinking hourly. And the second part is it will become to the point where then the assistant themselves are stressed out and not even being able to think straight because their client is pulling them everywhere else. So that's one of the main things, or main two things that I always look at with potential clients coming into 2XU is one, why are they only looking at their business hourly and not as an outcome or as something that is growing? And the second one is, are they looking at their potential employers or potential assistants as someone who is their saving grace versus someone who can multiply them? Because there is a difference of someone like, hey, I need to hire someone because my business is dying, or versus, hey, I want to hire someone because my business is growing and I can't do it by myself. So I would rather work with people who are growing and because they can't do it by themselves, versus like, hey, I need someone to save my business. I want to work with people who are going towards something, not avoiding something. So yeah.
Yeah, I had plenty of those kind of clients, at least prospects, who have unrealistic expectations and they are so cheap and they think, okay, if I pay a very little amount and I can expect everything, because for them maybe it's a lot of money, but it's not how it works. And it can be pretty demotivating for everyone involved. And all this negativity, the client is unhappy with the results because the expectations were so huge, and your freelancers, your employees, and yourself, it's a really tough spot. And another thing you mentioned, you created the course. How was it for you? How did it work? Did you face some challenges? Did you learn certain things when doing that?
So it's funny because, like, of course, now when I'm talking to the camera, I have a fancy microphone, everything else. People always assume that I'm an extrovert and I'm natural at this. But going on video was actually a skill that I really had to learn because I am naturally an introvert. I would rather stay at my condo for like a week straight versus like stand on stage for 30 minutes and talk to people. That's kind of a little bit of my own preference. So when it came to creating courses or creating content in general, it has been a skill that basically has been about 5 years in the making. So when we first started creating the content, I didn't even show my face at all. It was all audio. It was all screen recording. It was all just PowerPoint presentation that I was doing. So that was kind of the very first course. Now, like I said, I just re-recorded everything. And now I have the nice camera. I have the good microphone. I have a little bit of confidence and fluency basically of being able to talk without a lot of notes or a lot of guide or even a PowerPoint presentation. So it has been an evolution, but just like learning how to be an entrepreneur, I learned how to do the content.
That's very inspiring. I think many people, the same for me, I used to think the same. They assume that those people are born to create YouTube videos, to create courses, to stay in front of the camera, to stay on the stage. But it's amazing. You can just practice and learn and improve increase your confidence. Do you have some tips on how to increase the confidence?
There's not really a tip because like same thing with entrepreneurship. There's not really a book or a course that you can go through and then it's just really going through the trenches of learning and speaking on video until this day. And my video editor knows this. That's why I never look at whatever he creates for me. I can't watch or listen to myself, but I will watch how other people have commented. I will watch how people react to my videos versus like watching myself because it's too weird for me still. So that I get feedback in those ways. Like I know one of the things that I do, especially when I get really excited or nerdy about a topic, is I will talk really, really fast. But I heard this someone say that you talk really fast, but it's still eloquent. I understand every single word you're saying. You're just talking too fast. And I'm like, that's a little bit of my compensation of talking really fast. So I'll adjust and find ways, or I'll remember within myself to like pause and like talk a little slower. It is still like for me, it's still a skill I am mastering and learning to get better and better at every single time.
Yeah, that's very humble of you to say. You look very confident, and that's amazing. Yeah, I was also struggling a lot, especially a couple of years ago when I tried to create YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
When I speak with my friends, I can say sentences, and then when I speak in front of the camera,
it's a different thing.
I cannot say a proper sentence, and I was like, what is happening?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, over time, practice and like experimenting, and also like maybe thinking of the camera not as the whole world watching you, but just being with a friend or something like that. Yeah, it's probably helped.
Exactly.
And how do you react to negative comments?
5 years ago, I used to cry. To be honest, I
Wow.
legitly cry over like, negative comments, or like
Wow.
especially when it's one after the other. When I was still starting out, now I make a joke out of them. I think I've gotten to the point where I am comfortable within myself, and I know my abilities, and I know one comment out of like 50 people who have said it's amazing video, and the one comment of that person doesn't ruin all of the 50 basically who said that
Yes.
it was a really good video. I have to always keep in mind that the people always have different traumas, different triggers, different things that
Yes.
they're coming from. They might not be someone who has English as their first or second language. It might be their fifth language. So listening to me talk might be a little bit harder for them. So I always have to keep that in mind as well. And like I said, the other day, someone commented on my YouTube, one of my older YouTube videos. So I know it was the Leanne before I got to this point where I'm speaking less. As they said, like, oh, you talk too fast, blah, blah, blah. And then I just put, noted, thank you. So I just commented back. I'm basically like, got it. Thank you so much. Because like a lot of the time, people comment out of just like I said, like their own background, a lot of their own thoughts, and they just want to be heard. So I've gotten to the point where I'm very comfortable, but I do filter still. Like if I'm ranting too much or I'm doing too much introduction, I'll keep that in mind for the next video every single time. Whenever I see those comments.
Yeah, that's a very healthy way to cope with that. Some negative reactions can be valuable, but yeah, many of them are also, there are many negative people. If you look at comments on Facebook, for example, then you
Oh yeah,
realize, okay, you don't need to believe
every
every
single
single
thing.
opinion.
For sure.
Let's talk about YouTube a little bit. Many people start and they look at the successful YouTubers and it looks so easy. But then when you start yourself, you realize, oh, where are all the audience?
Mm-hmm.
And like you start, you have like 10, 50, 100 subscribers, and it's like, okay, who am I doing that for?
Mm-hmm.
How was your journey, and what did you learn with YouTube?
One of the biggest things, honestly, is collaboration is everything. That's kind of the
Oh.
biggest thing that I've learned with YouTube. So when I started out, I was doing videos on how to work from home when I get started. And right off the bat, I started doing a little bit, I didn't call it a podcast at that time. I just called it like, I'll interview you on my podcast to bring in some expertise. So I did that for a while, and I kept getting like really, really good people who give really good value. Because of that collaboration, it drove people into my channel. And in the last couple of years, one of the reasons why, like recently even, one of the reasons why I think within 2 weeks, my YouTube channel went from 23,000 to 24, and now it looks like it's going to hit 25 by next week, is because someone reached out of like, hey, we love your videos. We're creating this free course and resource basically for people who want to become a virtual assistant. Can we embed your YouTube video into our course? And I'm like, sure, if especially if it's for helping people, that's essentially my mission and goal in life. And because of that, every single time that they onboard new people into that cohort, basically, I get new viewers, I get new subscribers, I get people watching my videos. So collaborating, either people grabbing my video and using it as an example, or getting people into my channel, doing interviews, doing podcasts, as well as me doing talks on stage. Like 2 weeks ago, I was on stage in Bansko in Bulgaria talking
Yes.
to, I forget how many people were there, but it was a full house. But of course, 2 days ago, I did a webinar. Tomorrow, I'm doing another workshop. So me kind of constantly talking to people, doing partnerships, giving as much value as I can. Naturally, both my YouTube and my Instagram and my LinkedIn, everywhere else has kind of just have gotten people from me collaborating with a lot of people. So I think you could have the best kind of SEO people on YouTube, best thumbnail. But if you're not talking to people who are talking to your audience and they're not direct competitors, you're not going to reach that audience that you need or that you want to, just because they don't know that you even existed. YouTube isn't anymore just posting and then waiting for you to go viral. There's a little bit of work and love, to be honest, that goes into it.
That's interesting. There are so many videos on YouTube how to improve your YouTube videos in general and stuff, and you can spend thousands of hours improving one single video. But in the end of the day, if it's not visible to others, if no one knows about it, then it's really difficult. Now for you, it's probably easier if you create a really amazing video, then it can go viral because you have so many subscribers.
It still depends, to be honest. It's not always, it's still a hit and miss.
Yeah.
And I see the same thing for people that I follow, for the people that I love on YouTube, where it's still also a hit and miss. So the goal, or at least for me, like I always focus on creating value. Every single thing that I create on content, it's focused on pushing out as much content that has value for me, so that anytime one of them do take off, I don't feel nervous or scared of why that took off, because I know that's a good video. So my goal isn't to go viral. My goal is to give value, and whatever that looks like for other people.
Wow, I like that. I like that a lot with values. I also think like that. And also if it doesn't go viral, you gave value to a few hundred people, and it still be a good feeling. You didn't waste your time for just tricking the algorithm or something like that.
Yep, exactly.
Could you shed some light on course building? Did you use a certain platform, or have you been using a certain platform? And what should people consider if they also want to create a successful course?
So for course building, like from scratch, basically, I always look at frequently asked questions. That's usually how I create a build up a course, is usually when people are beginning all the way to achieving basically the goal that they want to. There's always questions for every step of the way. So I look at those questions, and that's how I create the modules basically, or the outline for the course I'm creating. And then other than that, on where I usually host it just on Teachable. I've been using it for the last basically 5 years now, 6 years maybe, basically since the very first 2XU course. But I've also had courses be published on Udemy. I've also had courses published on basically when I'm collaborating with other people and they post part of my video as part of their modules, they post it on other platforms. Teachable just works out for me. I don't recommend it when someone is super duper new. There's so many other ways that you can put up your course. One of them, honestly, straight up, is just YouTube. If it's a free course, especially, it's just you can set up a playlist, sending out to people, or setting it up on Notion as well as another platform. So there's different ways, and you can also just start like the way that I did. Like I said, first ever course that I had, I did not have my face. It was all a presentation. It was all kind of me voicing over a screen recording that I did. And then you get to the point where, oh, like this is the flow that you do. Okay, this is how you can add this. And one of the ways that I also grew courses has been collaborations. I'm like talking to people of like, hey, what if you have my course as a upsell in your course, and you get an affiliate commission every single time that someone buys my course through your upsell. So that I've kind of grown in that way of just doing partnerships left and right, of seeing who else, again, is talking to my audience, and then how I can reach their audience and give value as well.
How do you find collaborate?
At the beginning, a lot of it was me reaching out and try to give value to them in some way. So if I saw someone, I always look at someone who, again, is talking to my audience, but is not a direct competitor. So for example, when I started out creating videos on how to work from home, I would reach out to these very amazing, until now they're still friends of mine, very amazing community builders who are doing the same thing, and they're a little bit overwhelmed. I'm like, hey, I'd be more than happy to help out. I'd be more than happy to answer some questions or create videos for them. Some of them have come just from my YouTube videos, basically. They just be like, hey, I saw your YouTube video, great SEO, great keyword, great thumbnail. Can I feature you on my podcast? Can I have you on my course? And honestly, part of it is kind of just networking in person as well. Like the most recent course that I was able to do, I just approached the person, like we were in a conference. I'm like, I've been a fan with you for so long. You know, I follow you because of X, Y, and Z topics. And then that person said, oh, actually, I'm creating a course on this topic. Would you want to kind of hop onto that? We'll interview you, but it'll basically be part of the course. So a lot of it is kind of reaching out to people and also knowing that sometimes the right opportunities will just come by yourself. Just don't miss it, basically, as it comes by.
It has become easier to collaborate with others, especially to get their approval, to get their yes. Do you think your followership on LinkedIn, you have like 7,000 something, and especially the number of subscribers on YouTube, do you think it's a positive factor, or is it some other factors are more important?
If you're friendly, it helps. Like,
Yeah.
I remember only having like 1,000 on LinkedIn, and I think I have like 3,000 or 4,000 on YouTube. But because I am a real person, and I can talk to people, and I know how to turn on the charm, as they say, then it helps that way. Because of course, like, no one wants to work with someone who looks they're angry all the time.
Yeah.
So being friendly and being a genuine person is kind of the main ways that you can keep attracting partnerships. Because then the cool thing is, later on, because you've built relationships, because you've built partnerships, even when you're not in the room, other people that are like, yeah, you should talk to Leanne about AI. Oh,
Yeah.
Leanne is our virtual assistant expert, or Leanne does this and that. So then,
Wow.
even when I'm not there, I'm being talked about, because then I'm being referred, or hey, you should talk to Leanne. Hey, you should check out Leanne's videos, or whatever that looks like. So part of it is just being a genuine, real person who's just friendly, and you're just open to whatever the universe pops out at you.
Were you always like that, or especially with people who are much higher, like on the social ladder, kind of like who have much more followers and stuff? Were you in the beginning maybe like a bit scared of approaching them, or were you always like open-minded like now?
I'm an introvert. That's my natural state. So this has not come naturally to me.
Yeah.
It is also a skill that I had to learn.
Wow.
I get better at every single time. So I did Toastmasters for a while. I attended so many networking events,
Wow.
to the point where before I even went to Bulgaria, I reached out to all of the other speakers so then I can have a quick chat with them. So then by the time I went to Bulgaria, I wasn't like all
Wow.
alone. So I would do these little things that will make my life a little bit easier, make connection a little bit easier as well. Because eventually, when I met up with those people in person in Minsk, Bulgaria, I was just like, thank you so much for like hopping on the call with me.
Yeah.
It's focused on building connection before anything else. Before you can even give value to someone, you need to connect on what value you can give them. So it's a skill. Like I said, it doesn't come naturally to me. I still stutter sometimes. I get starstruck a lot of times of meeting people I only really see online, and then all of a sudden I'm talking to them on a podcast or something. But it has to be intentional when you want to grow in that way too.
Yeah. You need to have a plan. You have to be active. You have to prepare.
Exactly. Yeah.
Does it cost you energy when you go to those social events? Do you need to recharge after that? How is it?
Oh yeah, you see all these books that I have on here. These are my recharge. This is my recharge station. I always joke when I'm on stage of like, "Hi, I'm Leanne. I'm an introvert. After this talk, I'm gonna hide in my room and just read a whole book a whole day." Because I do need that recharge a lot of time, and it's funny because with my fiance, he'll notice it before I do. Of like, "Hey, you've gone out every single day this week. Do you need a recharge day tomorrow? Do you want me to leave you alone?" And I'm like, "I do need you to leave me alone." And like, he doesn't take offense because he knows that's how I recharge. But I do need, I call them self dates. I do need to take myself out on coffee, just read for a while, or even just scroll on TikTok basically for hours, just to kind of reset and kind of tell my brain, no, it's okay. We're alone. We're good. So the recharge part is an important thing.
Yeah, I know this feeling. Sometimes, especially last year, I was the full week in Banska Festival, and then after that, I thought, okay, I need like half a week to be kind of alone.
It was funny because when I arrived in Vegas, I remember a lot of people told me that. I'm like, just watch out, like around Friday, you're gonna be really tired and you don't want to talk to people. And I'm like, oh, this is what you meant. Okay, I'm not talking to people for the next couple of days. So yeah. For sure.
This year I was a bit short, just a couple of days in Bansko Nomad Festival. Do you record your videos very regularly, or do you do it in batches and then like schedule them?
So largely depends on what's happening the next couple of days. So for example, before I went to Bulgaria, I already recorded a month ahead of content because I knew I wasn't going to be in my same like usual space that I have right now. But sometimes I will on the go. Like during Basic Nomad Fest, I was vlogging the whole time and then I would put everything together and then I uploaded it basically. It depends on the situation, on what kind of content I'm creating. But my normal, like when I'm just here busy for longer periods of times, I would just kind of, my record days are Mondays and Tuesdays. Monday for the Thursday video, Tuesday for the Sunday video. For podcasts, it's kind of at any time. But I do have a pretty good system with my video editor, just because then I want to make his life easy, so he makes me look good also on video. So yeah.
Do you work only with your local team, or do you also have remote team?
So all my team are remote. None of us have an office or anything else. That's for all companies that we run, not just for 2XU, for like the other outsourcing companies that we have. Yeah, so, but then everyone is kind of in-house within 2XU and then within the other companies that we have.
So you meet sometimes for a week.
Yeah, we even have we meet every other month for those who are local here, and then once a year we fly everyone who's not like local to the city. And we have like a big meetup. Like this year we're going to the big zoo near here, but then we're taking pictures, we're seeing animals, we're having fun, we're bonding in some way. So I do make the effort of making sure that because of course when people are working remotely, it becomes lonely. So I want to make sure that there's an effort to how people feel like, hey, you're part of a company. You've never seen these people without just their bottoms. But here they are. Here are the people you always see each other every single day. So yeah.
That's probably also unique compared to competitors. They don't probably care so much about like the social aspect within the team. That's amazing, yeah, because we are social creatures and it's a different relationship if you know someone. Especially if you did some adventures with those people. So you are a big expert. After so many years, you are a big expert in virtual assistant. Maybe we can dive deeper into that to give some advice to our audience. First of all, let's start with some stories where your clients were struggling without an VA and then they came to you, and how did it change?
So most of the time, our potential clients are all coming into 2XU just because they're struggling with the same thing. Usually it's just overwhelmed, like everything louder than everything else. They're growing their business. It's growing more than them. They can't handle it by themselves anymore. So that's kind of always the biggest thing. And of course, like the structure that we're able to give them inside of 2XU, from us recruiting people, filtering people out, and then once you have your person, then we actually have like an onboarding program to make sure that you guys are set up right, and then we have systems to catch if that assistant's not doing well or the partnership isn't working out as well. So we have different things that we've kind of put into the business and the company to make that a little bit easier. And people usually start with that overwhelm of not knowing anything, and then we start going them through, as you know, since you've seen my talk of focusing on what are the tasks to delegate, and then it's learning what are the systems that you can start creating so then things can happen without you. And then ultimately having your assistant being your second brain is essentially building that relationship, that connection and growth with them. So then even if you are traveling somewhere, you know that your business doesn't have to stumble because your assistant's there to support everything else.
Yeah, I have an assistant like that. I chose her from like 7 different other. I gave them some test work, and she stood out because she was thinking, and like she was giving me feedback, and like I would like to adjust the task a little bit, and it will give you better results. And now I trust her. I have been working like for 5-7 years, something.
That's amazing.
And she's doing like all kinds of things. And I think I learned it's more about the person, not about the experience so much, because they can learn that. But if the person has the right mindset, has the right
attitude,
like also intelligence and attitude, is there something unique like with Asian, Filipino virtual assistants compared like to other countries, or is it like more on an individual level, like people are just different?
I can't really speak so much on that, mostly because all of our assistants are from the Philippines, and of course I'm Filipino. So we're perfect, we're amazing now. I know for why it works for Filipinos, and the biggest one is that We do have already a little bit of that Western mindset, so it's a little bit easier for us to adapt and work with clients who are
Mm.
more on the Western hemisphere. Uh, Basically, for Filipinos working online, we see that as such a boon, as such a gift, basically, of being able
Mm.
to be with family, to be able to spend time with family versus having to in an office. That
Yep.
we do want to take care of our clients in the best way. That we always want to show up in the best
Mhm.
way. Plus, that's part of a little bit of our culture. Is most Filipinos have a lot of pride in the work and the things that they do.
Wow.
I have sadly gone
Wow.
through that in the very beginnings of my business, where I would hire someone and then their client gives them a very difficult task, and all of a sudden they've gone off into the wind. But then now we have
Wow.
systems to prevent that, basically. And we
Yeah.
filter those people out very early on. But I remember, I know where it came from, that pride of like, we want to make sure we're doing a good
Yeah.
job. We want to make sure we show up in the best way. We care about the work that we put up because we always see that as a reflection of us. That is ingrained in our culture. That's why any single time that a Filipino outside of the Philippines is doing really well, there's that Filipino pride of like, oh, that's Filipino. It's a person like half Filipino or a
Yeah.
quarter Filipino, because we do have that pride. So when it comes to getting the work right, that's kind of one of the biggest cultural reasons why
Yeah.
Filipinos kind of fit better than other cultures. Again, I can't speak with other cultures because I
Yeah.
am not
Yeah. Yeah.
experiencing them, but that's kind of how I see why we work so well in that way.
Could you give some advice to entrepreneurs who want to hire a VA? How to find a VA and which factors are important and how to manage a VA?
We talked a lot, and I love that you also brought up the point that it doesn't even matter if a person has experience as long as they have the right attitude, the right mindset. That's one big thing that I've always tried to point out with people who are thinking of hiring an assistant, whether that's through 2XU or if they're doing it themselves, is you don't have to get someone who has 10 years experience. If also the other funny flip side, if your business is only about 2 years old, because then there's a little bit of a mismatch on experience on that end as well. But also there's the reality that when you're thinking of hiring an assistant, they aren't a unicorn, and they're not supposed to be a unicorn, and they're not supposed to handle every single part of your business just because you can handle every single part of your business, because your business is your business. It's not your assistant's business. They're employed in your business, but that doesn't
Ah,
mean that they're doing everything. Just because for you can do sales, you can do marketing, you can do operations, doesn't mean that your assistant has to do sales and marketing and operations. You have to think
yes.
about it in the way where your assistant is there to support you, not be you. It's becoming your
Yes.
second brain, not becoming another you. Because if there were two yous in the world, it's probably a little bit chaotic. Versus like having someone who kind of complements you. Who I always brag about my assistant all the time. She catches the things that I would probably have fallen through the cracks just because I'm working on a bajillion things at once in my brain.
Yes,
So
true.
she catches it. Like a really funny one that just came up this week, was like, hey, I haven't actually gotten a refund, but from this thing from 2 weeks ago, I probably should have given that to you 2 weeks ago. So things like that, where you find someone who complements you, who is a strength
Yeah.
to your weakness, when you're trying to find them. And as to where to find them, best ways is usually through referrals, just because then you get people who can speak about the person that you're about to hire. And the next one is, of course, the usual job hiring sites, LinkedIn, even TikTok. If you want to, you get a lot of applications, but you'll get a lot of
Wow.
audience from there. And of course, there's agencies like 2XU, where we help you, we specialize in getting you to do that. But if you do want to do it on your own, you have to be really clear about what to delegate, what not to delegate, the systems you want to build, as well
Mhm.
as the kind of person that you want to work with, because then that eliminates 80% of people who might apply who are not a good fit. It starts with you having clarity as the person hiring them in the first place.
So you are also consulting your clients when they
Mhm.
come to explain how to find the right match. Could you please tell our listeners what should they do and how the process look like if they want to get in touch with you or work with you?
So the easiest way is going through what we call a 2-minute readiness assessment, where basically it's a scorecard that'll kind of assess if you're ready to hire a virtual assistant in the first place or not. And that's really important part of our process, because then we can kind of gauge, is this person looking for a freelancer? Maybe you're looking more for a specialist, you're not ready for an assistant yet, or like, okay, yes, you need an assistant. These are the ways that you can do that. So it's 2xyou.com/scorecard to get started on that. And then it's usually a call with me, because like I still love hopping on calls with potential clients, just because one of the reasons I started 2XU is I'm super curious how other people's businesses work. And then it's onboarding with our client success managers, and then we start the hiring process, all of that good stuff, filtering people through different interviews and different skills tests to make sure that that person, the right person for you. And then, like I said, we have a 90-day program, which extends usually into a year. We have business operating systems, so we help you develop. So there's a whole process, but it does start with that scorecard. We always keep going back to that scorecard because that's kind of a good snapshot of where your business is at and where you want it to go.
So you already have a team and you choose from this team, or do you also oftentimes search for external freelancers or VAs for your clients?
So it's a mix. If you already have someone on the team, then of course it's easier to get them trained up. But a lot of times some clients of ours, just because we do match not just on skill, but also personality, we'll try to find that person. Like if a client really wants someone who's a little bit more extroverted, someone who be like happy, and we don't really have that person right now, then we go ahead and find that person. That process usually takes about 2 to 5 weeks, depending on how hard or easy the qualifications are. But usually within 30 days, we probably have someone for you, and then we're training them up and then adding them as part of your team. That's usually kind of the timeline of what that looks like.
Thank you very much for so much valuable advice, and especially for so much inspiration.
Thanks for having me.
It was such a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Phil.